June 4th, 2014. You're looking at Google Maps, and this particular website, which I will link to, does storm reports, and most of these are reports of hail yesterday. The pins are color-coded. You see, go to red, you got 2.75-inch hail in Platte, Nebraska, 1.75 in Butler, 1 inch in Merrick, but 3 inches in Saunders. And you've probably seen on the news, guys, where there was a lot of damage, cars, homes, things like that. I saw one report where a lady had to lay down in her front seat and cover up, I think with her purse or something, cover her head up as the windows were shattered out completely of her car, back and front, everything, tore the car up. But look at the size of these. Also, we've been talking about this, 100-mile-an-hour straight-line winds reported. Trees down, damage. They're looking for a repeat of it today. Check out these images. Now remember, we've been talking about, and Mike has been talking about it also, about 100-mile-an-hour straight-line winds increasing because of compression on the atmosphere, actually decreasing the size of the wind tunnel. Some of the reports there are talking about 12 people at the Walmart, that's in Blair, were hurt. 4,300 vehicles at this dealership were hurt. Said on Wednesday, Southern Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia are under the gun. And we're going to take a look at a couple of the weather maps about that. But, guys, this is something, in other words, when you're dealing with, you go 70 to 100 mile an hour straight winds, and we've seen those before, especially on the Gulf with the hurricanes. But it's going to change things. The trees are not going to stay up the way they normally do. Houses are not going to stand the same way. I've seen videos where they're redesigning homes far higher wind. So if you're in that process, definitely think about it. But here in the Gulf, still a 10% chance of the tropical cyclone formation there. Nothing has changed since the video yesterday. 48 hours, low 10% of development. It goes up to 20% over 5 days. Now, Boris is a tropical depression that's across it. And if you remember in the video yesterday, these two were interconnected in the overall scheme of the system in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, again, maybe this will bring some moisture to Texas and parts of the Midwest that need it. Now, the guys in Kansas that got that hail yesterday, some places were like 5 or 6 inches of rain. They got a lot, but when it's that fast, you get flash flooding. And we've been fortunate here with the long soaking rains for about 5 or 6 days. It's starting to clear now. But let's look at the overall picture of this thing. Here in the Midwest, that's the storm, and they're watching that. I'm going to show you the national weather reports out about today's information. Also, notice that the development that's along the equator and north of there into the Gulf and just off the Pacific coast there, Mexico. Now these, as we look at it, one side is diminishing, the other side inside the Gulf seems to be picking up somewhat. But again, that area there is going to be dangerous today. We're talking about just what we've been talking about for months, is pressure on the outer atmosphere pushing down. It forces the wind speeds to increase. Again, the housing codes and things like that across the U.S. and across the world are not designed for this. There's going to be problems. Be aware of situations where you would normally maybe run for your storm shelter and tornado warning. You may want to consider high winds as a warning. But this is from the National Weather Service. It says there's a risk of severe storms across portions of central and southeast Missouri as well as southwest Illinois today. Primary threat, listen, from these storms will be damaging winds. There's also a threat of locally heavy rainfall. Everybody needs some rain, probably except the southeast, especially Texas and north of there. But guys, also in the sun, that filament is still hanging in there, but notice the tip. The gravity of the sun is actually looping it back. I'll pull it up and get a close-up of this. That thing is, the size of it is amazing. And that it's held on at that distance from the surface of the sun without releasing is another thing. And we've seen these high prominences and high filaments. Also, an earthquake in Alaska, guys, 7.3 kilometers. Now, The reason I'm pointing this out is because we've had one also in Yellowstone, but it started with the Pavlov volcano on the Alaskan Aleutian Chains. As that started back on the 28th, we saw the large eruption on the 2nd. Now, there was also a lot of seismic activity. I showed you those graphs, but when you're dealing with Alaska, you're dealing with Yellowstone because it's all part of the Denali Fault, which loops back, and when you're connecting all of this within about 4-day period, you're going from volcanoes from a red alert yesterday, it's down to an orange now, it's eased back up, to a quake in Alaska, to a quake in Yellowstone. Now, the Yellowstone quake, I think, was in a mid-3. Still, you watch that pressure. Now, here's an amazing picture. Check this out. We're above cloud level. This is on the 31st of May, before the explosion that we saw on the 2nd. But imagine that much lava being at that height inside this rock mountain to create that much heat on the surface. And then we saw lava spew. Think of the elevation above your head that this lava is. There's a lot of power there, guys. We're going to have to watch it. Heads up. Be safe.